Are you creating family wellness or are you causing family wars? Do you have a plan that will keep the peace, or are you unintentionally killing the peace by trying to avoid conflict and therefore avoid planning because you think somebody's feelings might get hurt? These are good questions to ask and reflect, especially this time of year, holiday season. It's a good time again to reflect on your past, of what's to come, what has been in the past year. And then so many of us, we spend this season with family from near and afar. We're contemplating the future, what we want to see happen and develop. And we are also looking forward to creating new memories, right? And carrying this with us from generation to generation. But for some of us, it's also a season of bitterness, of loneliness, of disappointment, of frustration, um, of feeling, like failures due to poor family relationships. Okay. But the reality is both exist at the same time. But oftentimes I've seen in practice that these poor relationships um, caused by family disputes come about when it comes to who's going to get what. All right. So, in the context of estate planning, there are often many issues that are bubbling beneath the surface. They're like landmines. You don't know when you're going to step on them and some stuff is going to blow up. Okay. And somebody is usually waiting in the wing. They're waiting for the right time to seize advantage. And unfortunately, I've seen it many times. This happens most often in the event of the death of a family matriarch or patriarch, right? And the people that are kind of waiting in the wings are usually adults, full grown adults. So, mother passes away. Mother is maybe in her 80s or so. Father, and there's like the grand matriarch, grand patriarch. You have the children, you have grandchildren, great grandchildren, right? All these nieces, nephews, etc. But it's that hierarchy, that person at the top. They're the ones that's still holding it together. They're the glue to the family. But because 2/3 of United States adults fail to leave behind estate plans, so often, right, what happens is that chaos can break loose. And rather than having the calm that a plan can bring to help guide the next generation into the future, we don't know what to do, right? This pivotal figure in our life is missing. We're grieving, but all of us don't react the same way. And we're going to see why. With that in mind, let's look at the following scenarios that cause family wars due to failing to plan. The first is conflicting interests. So family members don't always agree on what to do about anything. Okay. Even when it comes to the holidays, who's going to cook what? I don't want them cooking this. I don't want them bringing that. I don't even want this dish at my table. Right. So there are so many things that we disagree with every day. And it's fine. Disagreement is okay. But where these conflicting interests can start to snowball into bigger issues, and when it comes to what to do with property. And when we're talking about estate planning, we're talking about valuable property. We're talking about homes that are 6, 7 figures of value. We're talking about bank accounts, right? We're talking about cars. Some of us want the cars. And then, there are sentimental things that a lot of people are just willing to fight for. The family pearls, right? The family heirlooms. If there's no plan in place for where this is going to go, there's tension between the family members of who's going to get what. They try to divide it up. And no, when I say no plan, I mean no written plan made, no design plan, because there's always a default. The default is always going to go and fall to the government and how they distribute. Okay. But even so, people will try to start to divvy up stuff right away. I want this, I want that. And they don't agree on what to do with the property. They don't agree on what to do with, grandma's house. It's been in the family for decades. Maybe 4 people want to save it. The 5th one says, let it go, right? And because of this, because there's these interests, because there's a vulnerability here, right? The glue is gone, the rock is gone. Now there's just all this stuff out in the air. There are members who may try to exert their own interest and authority about what to do that can negatively affect others. And the time is ripe for them to do it because there's no decision, there's no plan, there's no written guidance. Okay, so this is their time, this is their moment to seize it and run with it. And that's just conflicting interests. But because we have this vulnerability now, we have this moment now where anybody can kind of come in and say what they want to do, it can morph into the second one, which is controlling individuals. Many families have it. I've seen it more often lately in practice in the last couple of years, where there is a dominant personality that must be in control. They have to be in control. They won't have it any other way, okay? Even if there is a plan in place and they're not the one, they're still gonna be the one because that's just how they are. And the worst part about it, the saddest part about it, in my opinion, is that often these individuals don't really care about the property at issue. They don't really care what happens to mom's house. They don't really care about, who's going to be the caretaker of the house. They don't really care about the thing itself. It is for them just a matter of being in control. They want to pull their weight around. They want to have the final say. They want the authority. They want the power. They want that. Okay, so that's why they ingratiate themselves in it. The property doesn't matter. They really don't care about what's best for it. It's all about them. All right. And often they've always been that way. But again, because now this rock is gone, this glue is gone, it allows for that to just come in and take over. All right. Mom can't tell them no anymore. Mom can't keep them in check anymore. Okay. They will go in there and fight. And this can really cause toxic relationships with other family members, right? With their own siblings, right? Their own brothers and sisters, their own nieces and nephews, whomever it is. They're just so far gone, oftentimes, that the relationship is not capable of being saved. It's often past the point of mediation, which is, trying to work the conflict out. So conflict, right, was the first one. Conflicting interests. We may be able to sit down and work it out, may be able to sit down and come to an agreement or a negotiation. But when these controlling personalities, these controlling individuals take over, there is no conflict resolution. There's no negotiation. There's no mediation. They want it their way. And it is just, it makes everything so much more difficult to do because, again, the point is not uh, to distribute the property. The point is not about what's best for the property. The point is not even about what's best for the family. It's about them being in control. And that you can't really litigate. You can't really take that to court. That is just something that you have to deal with as part of life. All right. But we'll see how planning can help you mitigate, how it can help you avoid that awful situation. Okay. And then the final piece of what you risk when you don't have a plan is confrontation issues. So, kind of on the other end of these not even assertive, aggressive, right? Aggressive and dominant personalities, you have family members who are timid, who are more passive. They are pacifists. They're not willing to take a stand. They don't like the confrontation. They'll take the hits, they'll take the bruises because they don't want to get in the fight. And, they might do that with good intention, thinking that they're not fighting, they're not causing any harm, but they actually do cause more harm than good because their interest is really being swallowed up by these controlling individuals because these people are ready to go after it and take it at all times. And the more opportunity they see for this open opportunity, like this kind of weakness, if you will, they're going to go in and swoop it up easily. All right. And it's going to affect everybody else. So let's say out of 3 people, you have one person who wants to keep the house. You have one person who really doesn't care. They just want to be in control. And then you have another person that doesn't want to come into the middle of the fight. Do you see how there are 3 different interests here? But this one that wants all the control, they'll go after it. They're going to swallow it up no matter what. Like, because this one is just too weak to stand on its own. It is going to cower to, oh, okay, whatever you say. And it doesn't help anything. It really does not help anything. If something is worth fighting for, or if something you see has a better interest than what this dominating personality wants to do, and you say nothing about it, you might as well not be there. Okay, playing it safe, staying in neutral, what's going to happen is you're going to get left behind. And even worse, you delay others who are depending on you for a definitive decision. You damage their interests because you won't stand up for yours. Okay. And so it's like a domino. You won't stand up, so you'll just fall down and you'll knock everybody else down with you. All right. And it leaves these nasty family wounds to linger, to fester, to become even more toxic. And this happens even if you're good natured and good hearted. It's not your intention to do it. But in moments like this, where there can be a lot on the line, where family interests and family values are at stake, you playing it safe helps no one. It doesn't even help you because you really don't even have peace because the chaos is still existing all around you. So you think you're keeping the peace, you are really killing it. You're killing it unintentionally. And finally, when it comes to that also, people are just afraid to act, right? Because they feel like they're fighting and they don't want to fight, whatever. So they think if they do nothing, it'll be okay. And that's not true. So I used to have this saying where I would say, if you do something, something can happen. If you do nothing, nothing will happen. Well, I had to meditate on that for a little bit and actually revise it. So if you do something, something can happen. It doesn't mean that the action will happen, but it can happen. You give yourself the option, you give yourself the chance, you give yourself the hope, right? However, if you do nothing, things will only get worse. It's not if you do nothing, nothing will happen. If you do nothing, it will get worse. And to put this into a more relatable example, let's just think about a house. A house requires a lot of maintenance, okay? It requires a lot of repairs. It requires ongoing financial obligations, right? Paying the mortgage, paying the property taxes, paying the utility bills, uh, lawn care maintenance, right? Keeping it together. If we do these things, what can happen is the house will be in order. The house will go up in value, right? If we keep it up, if we make renovations and repairs, take some old stuff out, put some new stuff in. We can keep going higher and higher. We add value to it with our actions, okay? And then obviously we want to use wisdom because we can also do things that may hurt it. But if we do nothing at all, if we're scared because, oh, I want to renovate it, I think it'll be worthwhile, but I don't want to spend the money, or I don't want to bring it up to, husband because he won't agree. So I'm just going to leave it alone, right? We're just going to leave it as it is. But if it needs it, it's going to get worse because if you do nothing, it can only get worse. If you do something, you can improve it. If you do nothing, it will fall into neglect and disrepair. Let's just look at a vacant home. Why do they look like as nasty as they look? There's nobody there to maintain it. The wear and tear is not being repaired. The lawn is overcut and overgrown, and like critters are moving in, and it's just, you can see it physically, the neglect. You can see the consequences of that because nobody was there to do something about it. And so that's what ends up happening when you try to play it safe and in the middle. You think you're being okay, you think that you're keeping peace, you are not. You're killing the peace. The chaos is still happening all around you, and you're adding to it because you refuse to say no to it. All right. So on the other end, that's with doing nothing, right? Including doing no plan, right? You don't do an estate plan, this is what you might get, okay? But when you do have a plan in place, you're able to mitigate these issues. You're able to plan for them because you'll be prepared for them. You'll be prepared for these contingencies. You can know and name the people. Sometimes just naming them will put them to shame, okay? And you can do that in your plan respectfully, lovingly, but you can put people on alert that this is what it's going to be, right? You can take the ultimate stand of asserting and controlling your own interests, all right? You can say, this is what I want. Put it on paper, write the vision, make it plain, and everybody can see it and they can know that that's what your wishes are. And then overall, you can minimize conflict because you made it known exactly, again, plain and clear what your wishes are. And not just for yourself, but for the benefit of the entire family. So everybody's on the same accord. It's harder to fight back, actually, if the plan is properly executed, all the wishes and the people and everything are laid out, because it looks like you put some thought, some intention, some effort, some action into doing it. Okay? So whoever might try to come in and assert their control and their dominance, you put down the hammer already. All right? So you're giving your family a leg up to stand in case any fights come up. So keep this in mind this holiday season when you're with your family. Keep this in mind when you're kind of just contemplating these issues. You're looking at like the kids and the grandkids playing in front of you. Think about what you want that to look like when you're not there anymore. You want them to keep getting along. If they're already, fighting, do you want to continue that? Right? Just think about it and keep it in mind, especially when you think staying neutral is helping. Okay? Because, like we mentioned, it's really harming. It's just giving fuel to the chaos. All right? We must give our actions a purpose to fulfill. And if we're good natured and we want to create family wellness, give them a good purpose to fulfill. All right? One of family love and respect and trust. Otherwise, again, the others will assert their own influence, and chaos can ensue and cause damage that honestly families may never have enough time to be able to heal. Because life happens every day. You don't know if that person is going to be here tomorrow to try to mend it. And you might not even care if it gets to that point, which is the most unfortunate but sad reality of it all. So just keep it in mind. All right. I hope this video has brought you great value today. And if it has, please spread the value by sharing the video, liking it, and subscribing to our channel for more of this kind of content. You can also check the links in the video description to learn more. Okay, so again, until next time, I am Attorney Tina Patterson. I will see you next week.